Kuba Kiersikowski. Jakub is director of the Lemkin Center in Warsaw. So he's coordinating these efforts to both to collect data, to collect testimonies, but also to make a course for social mobilization in form of artistic performances and so on and so forth. Please, Jakub, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm not the director, I'm a manager of the Lemkin Center. There is one director, Mrs. Magdalena Gawin, who is originator of Lemkin Center and who gave me this managing of this center. For the start, let me say something. The Berlin yesterday gave me this terrible flu. So, as Joe Cocker said, with little help from my friend, I would like to introduce to you Mrs. Kateryna Leontieva, who is coordinator in Lemkin Center. She will be helping me to proceed this presentation because my abilities to speak decreased. So, what's behind this idea to establish the Lemkin Center for collecting and documenting the Russian crimes named by Lemkin Center, by Rafał Lemkin. The idea behind this center is the speech from that starts the war. The speech on February 23rd and 24th, but these genocidal intentions of Vladimir Putin can be presented in other activities. I'm trying to entitle here the article by President Vladimir Putin, who is published on July on the historical unity of Russians and Ukrainians. Another source of the Lemkin Center idea is the case of our testimonies given before the main commission of the investigation of German crimes in Poland. These testimonies, because they are sworn under oath, they keep secret and undisclosed until 2000s. So. We are aware that if there will be prosecutors documenting all these testimonies, all these accounts given to the prosecutors, will be disclosed through this through all these I don't know how to say. Legal procedures, yes. So based on example of accounts that there is there are in general in our collection chronicles of terror, these accounts of General Władysław Anders' army soldiers, we make a decision that we have to collect these accounts in the same time as prosecutors documents this war. Yes.
As you all know, the current war is unique in terms of scale of the mediality. So the whole world can see what is happening right now. But it doesn't mean all the media presence becomes historical documents. As historians in Pilecki-Institut were so wise and so fast to come up with the idea that crimes, testimonies have to be taken note of and made the history. And this history has to become available for the general public, for the future families, for historians and scholars, as well as for the prosecutors, for the legal efforts. So the Lemkin Center started its work on the 26th of February, almost 1 year ago. And despite the initiative was so bright and rapid, it continues methodologically, consistently collecting the evidence of the war crimes, Russian crimes conducted in Ukraine. We built this archive in 3 possible ways. So we collect the questionnaires. Those are written testimonies. Based on the questionnaire, I will tell later about this document. So those are video interviews which we conduct in Ukraine and in Poland and via video conferences as well. All the video interviews, the interviewing process is built on the approved questionnaire. We also collect other forms of the testimonies because sometimes people are not willing to show their faces, but they are ready to talk, so we make audio interviews. Often, eyewitnesses want to prove their stories with the pictures they took, if they were lucky enough to evacuate from the occupied territories with the photos they had, photos and videos. And we have those in our collection as well, as you will be able to see today. Our witness testimonies are taken without the oath, which allows us opening those documents to the people who really need access to them. As I previously said, those are journalists, publicists, historians, as well as prosecutors. It is very safe. First of all, the testimonies are taken voluntarily. Nobody is making people talk to us. All the employees and volunteers who work in Lemkin Center have constantly, we are constantly being trained, and we have like introductory training on the procedures, on the process of taking testimony without the re-traumatization of the eyewitnesses, and on the legal matters as well. We treat our data with the highest possible caution and with regard to the data security, because you know, we live in this media world. We don't need data leakages. You will see how archive works. I'm amazed as a person who joined as a volunteer as of April and then continued working in Lemkin Center. I'm amazed how much work has been done by the whole team of Pilecki-Institut, and I hope you will be with me on that tonight. We do take care of well-being of the people we talk to, of the witnesses, not only from the physical security point of view, but psychological as well, because stories they tell are often very, very hard. We also take care of the product which we collect, the interviews. For that, we have to verify the eyewitnesses. So we do conduct our interviews in person, always. it's never a questionnaire that's been mailed somewhere and then received. It's never like that. So for every witness, we have our person from our team who worked, or volunteer who worked with this witness, and often we recognize the stories we've participated in recording, like you can say a couple of words from one of the stories, and I will say who said that, when the testimony was collected, and where. So
we made a questionnaire based on eternal law. The specialists from historians from Pilecki-Institut. It includes in Polish there is a RODO, and in English is GDPR consent. The testimony must have the permission to process and publish data that allow us to publish the image of the witnesses and their names, other datas. As you see, our questionnaire is thorough. It consists more than 40 questions. I have some examples of these questionnaires in 4 languages right here. After the presentation, you can take it and read it through, but it has to be...
Please return them.
Yes. There is a special space to write a personal story, additional testimony. This story is the most important thing in our testimonies. As you see, it is in 4 languages. There's a Ukrainian, Russian, Polish, and English version. Russian version is that it's because of the Ukrainians. Stressed sometimes uses the Russian language, so we have to make a Russian language version.
But it's so funny, like even if the person asks for the Russian language questionnaire, first of all, they often answer the questionnaire in Ukrainian or some weird mix of two. And then we have a question, what's your mother tongue? And people asking for Russian questionnaires and even filling them out in Russian always write Ukrainian. They sometimes write Ukrainian and Russian or several of them, but yeah.
So why we collect this testimony? The testimonies they are right now catalogued, anonymized, and translated. Today is the first presentation of this repository, which will be after this presentation. This is an example of a completed questionnaire. This is a funny story. This is a questionnaire from Katerina, which is with us. So we'll give you the voice in a minute. Yes, this is a digitalized version of this questionnaire. Maybe some
and that's how the team usually works. So. The team goes to the refugee centers, refugee camps, and or to the parties accepting us and inviting us to conduct our interviews. In the beginning, the volunteers were working in the train stations as well. So we are trying to meet the eyewitnesses wherever they are, and choosing this kind of approach. We've basically seen every wave of evacuation here in Poland. When Nowa Kachowka was first on fire, we saw hundreds of people from Nowa Kachowka. When Saltivka was bombed to to ashes. We've seen probably half of Saltivka in the refugee camps in Warsaw, and by continuing visiting those centers often and searching for the new places of contact to the eyewitnesses, we really see how the war unravels in front of our eyes. So here is how they work in refugee camps.
Yes, this is from Nadarzyn, from the
biggest in Europe, I would say.
Yes, and that's the example of work of Lemkin Center on the ground in Ukraine. Our co-worker is filming this witness, right?
So we process the testimonies which we get in four steps. When we come with the questionnaires or receive video or audio interviews, we first register and describe them. After that, we digitize them. The questionnaires are being scanned. After that, they are being anonymized within our facilities. No document leaves the premises of the institute, and the security rules are really tough and respected. After the anonymization process, our team translates the documents, and they are being uploaded to the archive you will see tonight.
The anonymization concerns all this data that could can make you identify the witness. So it's not only the name, the date of birth, but the anonymization crew go through this testimony through questionnaire and for example anonymize the name of the streets, the name of number of houses and so on, not to let anybody identify the witness.
According to the permissions from our witnesses, we do not always have to anonymize the accounts, but understanding the peculiarities of the war, we make decision from one account to another. Every time we have to make this decision, whether we show the witness's face when it is videotape, whether we cover the name and the address completely, or we could show the town name. So even if the witness allowed us to show their details, we are not always showing those details now because the front line moves, and that's very dangerous to show everything. We have to make sure our witnesses are safe.
There are situations when the witnesses strongly want us to publish their data. The photos of our witnesses. This is eyewitnesses from Ukraine, which gave us the film form testimony. This photo is also can be seen also in this installation, multimedia installation in the basement, which I warmly invite you to go and see. Yes.
So every photo tells a story, and I can see every face, and I can tell a story of every person, and that's for me the main attribute of the archive we are building. We are not just showing the statistics. People are not becoming numbers. Their destinies are not becoming, stats in someone's spreadsheet. They are real people. They have real lives, which are being influenced or even taken by this war.
So after these eyewitnesses, maybe some numbers.
Yeah.
Some numbers. We sum up our collection.
So we have 695 written testimonies right now. We conducted 80 sessions with interviewing people. We visited 58 locations to conduct those sessions. And the testimonies presented in those questionnaires cover 19 regions of Ukraine. You know, not all the regions are so heavily influenced by the war. Some have not seen the Russian war crimes. That's, I believe, the reason we are not seeing the testimonies from those regions. We also have 386 video interviews. 307 of them were filmed in Ukraine. They are mostly being filmed in the freshly deoccupied territories as well as on the front line. Those filmed in the front line are not being shown with the faces of the witnesses, so we blur the faces. And when you will hopefully use our archives, you will see that some videos, we will not be uncovering the face of the witness till the end of the war. We have filmed 42 interviews in the refugee centers. Those people in the refugee centers often prefer writing to sitting and talking in front of the camera. So this, we are not trying to improve this number. We are just trying to help people tell their stories in the most comfortable way for them. 37 interviews we conducted via video conferences because people often come to Poland and talk to us and want to talk to us and make a statement, but they go further. They go to Germany, they go to the Northern Europe, or even to Canada and US. They leave our team their contacts and we do the interviews later. So that's how it's done.
Maybe some geography.
Yeah, we've analyzed some figures from the questionnaires, and that's how the regions of Ukraine are presented. As you can see, Kharkiv is the heaviest presented region. Like, it's not the city, but Kharkiv region. Is heavily presented. Donetsk region as well, and Kherson. But those figures change because we process the testimonies, and based on processing them, we update the statistics.
So
top
this is a representation of top 10 cities.
So Kharkiv, Mariupol, Kyiv, Kherson, and the rest of them.
Okay.
We also tried to analyze types of the crimes which we read about in the questionnaires, or types of the story. We see destruction of the civil infrastructures basically everywhere. We also see captivity, taking civilians like hostage, torture and interrogation, and in many of them, more than 1/3. We see a lot of deprivation of basic human rights, and unfortunately we see civilian death or injury. People talk about looting and robbery, but this number is not high, and that's understandable because often looting happens when people leave, and then if the witness is with us, they probably don't know that this happened to their houses or to their neighbors' houses when they talk to us. In our video interviews, we see more of that because people are forced to leave, and then they come back and talk to our team, and when they come back, they find that their house has been robbed. We also saw some cases of deportation, including the children abduction. But compared to the others you see on the slide, we don't have such an amount of material, and it's understandable. From the video interviews, half of them are from Kyiv region, because when the villages and towns there were deoccupied, we received a huge collection from our team describing every little detail. So we have cases on some villages telling the story. I feel like I was raised in some villages like those, because I just went through the whole material and I know who lives where and what happened to whom and who's who, basically. In Donetsk, we are getting more evidence from Donetsk region now, because our team tries their best to follow the winds of Ukrainian army, and as soon as the territories get deoccupied, we go there and film there. As well as Kharkiv region, some Zaporizhia region. And those are types of crimes we often see in the video interviews. As you can see, the list is bigger here.
And the proportion is...
and the proportions are a little different. As you can see, we have some types of crimes we have not seen in the questionnaires. For example, here you can see sexual abuse or threats of sexual abuse in the video interviews. We almost don't see that in when we conduct our sessions with the refugees. People don't want to talk about sexual abuse cases, even to the teams in field. There is only one video of a woman openly talking about the case of her case of sexual abuse, and she wants this case to become public. And she really wants to tell this story to the whole world, and that's the only case we have it as an open one. Others are, people are talking about that, or people are mentioning that there were threats, or there is a case, but they don't want to talk. And as it was in the previous wars as well, it's understandable. I put here killing the livestock and,
yes.
and animal cruelty, because I know that this is not a war crime,
yes.
just a crime, but I wish I could show you.
There will be the picture. There will be
it's just it's even hard to understand. They are jealous that we have those sheep and those pigs, and they are just killing to kill.
Maybe I will show you right now. Those.
Back, yeah.
Yes.
Slide back. So this sheep on the left, they couldn't take them, they couldn't eat them, so they just killed them and let them rot.
Yeah. That's yes.
Yeah.
And there are the other data, the other things. We have 21 audio interviews, which today will not be shown, and other types of materials. As you see, media materials, recording, given us as a supplement to these written testimonies. About 1,200 photos as a supplement for interviews. You will be shown today these questionnaires with this supplement photos. let me tell you about this over 2,400 records of crime. Our database of records with records of crimes and war events. There are some volunteers, some co-workers who go through these social media channels of Ukrainian social media channels and put every event of war in a database, so we could prove this the events described in questionnaires.
Yeah, so the approach we use, as I told before, like consistent, regular interviewing. Our team observes all the waves of evacuation through Poland, and we can't help but see some similarities or some differences in the behavior of the perpetrators, which our witnesses describe. We documented so-called referendums. We documented the beginning of the school year in the occupied territories. Spoiler alert, teachers are partisans. So we see a lot of description of the partisan movement in the regions such as Kyiv, Kherson, Kharkiv, and Mariupol. We recognize the similarities in the behavior as well, and people talk about it. People see it as well. Russian soldiers are jealous of the level of life Ukrainians, even in the small towns, have. Ukrainians in simple villages, living their simple rural lives, seem like they live in the cities because they have streets and lights and gas, electricity and water in their houses. There is a testimony from Kyiv region where the women who spent more than a month in occupation say that Russians came to them, and after trying to prove that they live in a city, not in a village, Russians said, "Oh well, who let you live this beautifully? Кто разрешил вам так красиво жить?" And those women, they said, "We don't need a permission. We just need to work. You have to work. We didn't come to grab someone else's. We just worked. And that's how you live beautifully." Yeah, so we collect all the material we can get a hold of, but we also see that the collections on particular topics raised, such as destruction of Mariupol, occupation of Andriivka, the village in Kyiv region, deprivation of basic human rights in occupation tactics, which Russians use scorch earth tactics, destroying everything they cannot get a hold of. So-called referendums, propaganda instead of education. We have those collections, and those topics are quite full already, and we are keeping an eye on whatever can emerge.
Maybe we go through these photos linked with these topics.
Yes, so one of the topics we see a lot is ban of burial. This is one of the photos, and we have some of those photos downstairs in our media installations. And is there someone who had chance to see the media installation already?
Yeah.
And thank you for that. And I invite everyone to see it after this presentation. I will be happy to guide you as well as my colleague. So, yeah, the terrible one. Body found on a compost pile after 44 days of excruciating search conducted by his wife and his 15-year-old son.
We will show you this film
Yeah.
after this presentation.
So photos on the ban of burial as well. That's how people had to bury their loved ones. Just in the gardens.
Yes.
Often this particular photo is from the place where the whole house, someone else's house, was filled with the missiles and armor. And when Russian soldiers were leaving the village, they just put this house on fire, and it was exploding for more than a day, and like neighboring villages heard and saw those explosions. We also see some destructions of the civil infrastructure and schools and shopping malls. Yeah, that's how people live when Russian soldiers leave their villages. So those are boxes from the armor.
Rockets. Yes.
And scorchers, we see that a lot on the occupied territories. They ruin the farms, they ruin everything they cannot take with them. And they make exhibition of that.
Yes. That's some pictures of wars. The commentary is not needed. Yes.
And childhood on the war. This girl was happy to show the place where before the war they were storing some potatoes, and during the war this place was turned into the crematorium, probably because bodies were thrown there and put on fire, and she was showing us and describing those are the bones from here, those are the bones from there. So terrible, really, because would she understand that her life is not, it has nothing to do with normality?
Yes.
Those are the pictures of the evacuation column, which has been negotiated with and approved by Russian occupiers. The column went, this man organized the evacuation, and then 300 meters before they reached Ukraine-controlled village, he saw that from the occupied village there were Russian tanks moving on them, and started shooting them. And Russian snipers were shooting those who were jumping out of the cars, basically women and children trying to get out of the cars and save their lives, jump into a ditch. The snipers were just shooting them. So the man waited for the black flames to happen, waited for his car to explode, and when the black flames went up, he saved all of those who could survive in the ditch, and just walked across the field to the Ukraine-controlled village. And those are examples of propaganda. Those are from Kharkiv region. They act like it's a Russian territory, so they just make their legal papers. They bring their newspapers and they bring their books to the school. So they are trying to teach history of Russia in Kharkiv region. Okay.
Before the film, I would like to come to this table. From the questionnaires that we transcribed, there is we can like in be found free approaches to the war, which refers to the plans of Putin's army. It's understandable, but here we have this what you can and what you can't make with in those regions: Kyiv region, Kharkiv region, and Kherson region.
So in some of them, Russians behaved like they came to rule. In the others, they came to destroy and to kill and to leave the scorched earth. But it was rather connected to the plans, as Jakub said, because different parts of Russian military came to different regions, and those differences were connected rather to the behavior of those parts of the military than to the region itself. And later in the war, in the regions which came to be ruled by Russian and were perceived by Russians as their own, as the friendliest ones, they still were treated very badly, as you all have probably seen from case of Izum or from other cases in, let's say, Russian-speaking regions.
Okay, so we have to go to the story of Oksana. Tell us
as I was,
three.
As I was saying earlier, I can tell the story of each and every face I see on those pictures, as my colleagues do as well. We live like those stories are close to us, like those are our family stories, because this is our people's stories. And the one which I find the most difficult for me personally is the story of Oksana. Oksana is a woman who lived in Borodyanka with her family, her husband and her 2 kids. They found out about the war being in Borodyanka, and they thought that could be dangerous for them in there, and they lived in an apartment building in Borodyanka. They thought in the village it will be easier. So on the 2nd day of war, they came to the village of Andriivka, which was a little to the south of Borodyanka. In Andriivka, they bought their summer house several months before. The next day, Andriivka got occupied by the Russians. On the 3rd of March, Oksana's husband went for a walk with his son in Andriivka, and the son came back home without the father. He said, "Father will come back later," and the father didn't. Then Oksana realized that something is wrong, because never in their life he hasn't come home at night. In the morning, she went searching for him, and people in the village said that he was forced to go to the Russians and bring the phone number of the head of the village, because Russians wanted to talk to him, and Russians were threatening bombing the village if locals will not bring his phone number. After that, Andriy, her husband, hasn't been seen. Her story is really difficult because she tells how she had to survive in the occupation with 2 children. First time in dozens of years without her husband, and really scared. Basically, she didn't have any family in this village because they just bought the house, and the neighbors were helping them, but she still felt terrible, but she refused to leave because she was waiting for her husband. Several times Russian soldiers came to their house and tried to make them leave, but they didn't because they were waiting for their father to come back home. On the 31st of March, when Russians left their village, immediately she ran for a search for her husband or his body, and she didn't find him. For 44 days, she and her son and her daughter, they were searching the whole village, leaving no stones unturned, and they couldn't. The day our team came to film witness testimonies in Andriivka, Oksana was informed by one of their neighbors that they found the body on the compost pile, and
we are
together
with her as she finds his husband body. Can I have a film now? It's that moment. He has a wound in his stomach, and his hands is
tied. His hands were tied with a metal rope, and he was shot in the stomach. Before, she was trying to approach the body, but the neighbor didn't let, because often Russians leave the bodies mined.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this film. We would like to. Let's get back to the presentation, please, Mark. We have little information about our events with these public presentations of these selected testimonies gathered by Lemkin Center. Here you are, the first of this, War and Remembrance, War and Memory, which is launched in Warsaw 25th of May. And this first full theatrical performance deliberated with this ironic approach that the Russians are liberating the Pole people and the Polish people and the Ukrainians. And that's all of our presentation. Thank you very much. Right now we would like to show you for the first time this repository we will build. This repository is part of the Chronicles of Terror, our base. So let me invite to you the manager of our archive, Mr. Krzysztof Wiśniewski.
Thank you for introduction. Today we want to present you a special collection on our archival portal, chroniclesofterror.pl. Chronicles of Terror is our main archival project. when it's something like archival hub, when we have collected accounts, especially of testimonies from different archives about a time of Second World War, when Poland was crushed by two totalitarian regimes, Nazi and Communist Soviet Union. But we think that in previous year, Russian aggression against Ukraine changed everything. And we decided that the questionnaires which have been collected by the Lemkin Center have to a part of our portal Chronicles of Terror. And now Jakub will show you the result of our work.
You can write it down, chroniclesofterror.pl. There's a slider which contacts us to the site with all these testimonies. We are short of time, so I will show you. Can I have? You are not locked. You are not locked. I have to log to this. So.
Yeah. So. Spoiler. Not a spoiler. You probably would get that we do not let people just from the internet to get onto the site and get a hold of the witness testimonies. We are really serious about the security, so you will be able to see the testimonies from one of the offices of the institute for the time being. But we have hundreds of the witness testimonies already uploaded into the archive, and in a moment we will show you some cases. So when we upload the questionnaires to the archive, they look like that. You can see that in the previews, a lot of data is hidden. That's because some of them uploaded, some of the witnesses let us use their personal data, but we are still covering it in the majority of the fields. Some did not let us.
Go through this to this site. Dima, why don't you go through this site? Notice. Can I have? No. Can I have the aggression against Ukraine? This button.
We are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and let us have this language change. Oh yes, it's in English already, but we will. No. It's changing into English. Change into English, please, Dima. Yes, thank you very much. 2 words about anonymization. As you see, the questionnaire is fully anonymized. It's PDFs, so this anonymization is
you cannot undo it.
You cannot undo it. There is a name of the witness.
If they allowed us to use them.
Yes, and the occupation, date of birth, and
year of birth, and
year of birth, and the territory.
They are talking.
Daj do góry, Dima. You can see here there's a metadata. So it's how the questionnaires are described with witness, subject. Open this slider, Dima. Subject. Open subject. You can see here fighting for Kharkiv team. The issue of Russian occupation, Russian missile terror, every of these subjects can be found here. Open location, please, Dima. Yes, thank you very much. You can see here the thing the location that we are describing today, Nowa Kachowka, Energodar, Kramatorsk, all these locations are here in our questionnaires. Please open these victims slider.
Proszę, żebyś wziął mikrofon.
I'm sorry. So you can find then there every kind of victims that they are described in questionnaires. Maybe you can open this crimes button. Crimes. Please. We will show you this. As you can see, there is some kind of crimes described right here. You can search through all of this data, all of this
metadata. So not only those tags, this metadata is searchable, and you really can build an precise search with this metadata, but the whole documents which are uploaded are searchable. We understand that it is often very difficult to work with the documents like handwritten, especially in Cyrillic.
So maybe we will show you some of
sure.
one of example, and maybe Dima, why don't we go through this, a Bucha, maybe because this is it's well known. Yes, this Bucha. Choose one, maybe Sweetwana. As you can see. As you can see on this bottom slider, there is an English version. Go to the original.
You get
original.
You get presented with an English version because you are on the English version of the website right now.
Original.
But you can also always.
This is a hand-written questionnaire, which is anonymized. Go through it. Yes, as you see, it's a fully put questionnaire, and there is a story in the end. Okay, so let us have this photo. It is photo given as a supplement to this questionnaire. It represents a Bucha massacre in March 2022.
If the witnesses give us a more deliberate description of the actions in the photo, we sure take note of that and put in the descriptions of the pictures. Not in this case, but different witnesses, different.
There is a map attached to this. To every questionnaire is attached a map that shows which places are described in this questionnaires. As you see, here's Bucha. Maybe let us have maybe Irpień. Go through to this.
Yep.
We have nine questionnaires from Irpień. Maybe this Kyiv. Go to Kyiv. Yes, it's 67 questionnaires. On the left side, you are shown all of these metadata that I was talking about. As you see, is the description, the name of the witness, the region, the description of victims, of perpetrators, of crimes committed and described in this questionnaire. It has a content topics. Do we have time for? We could shorten it. So that's an example of our base, which is linked to the Chronicles of Terror. We are short of time, so maybe. Yes.
I think the general speaking, so discussion could be just.
Yes. So that was the Blitz presentation. Thank you very much. And how to get to these files, to these questionnaires. Right now we are gathering some regulation with our
team and our lawyers, but as I said previously, you will be able to get to those archives from our offices.
This is some example of films that we imported today.
Yeah, as I've been telling you, some are open, some are blurred, and will not get deblurred until they were is one.
So, but generally speaking, we are here for, as our chief, Mrs. Professor Gavin has said, we are here. We can show you these testimonials, these questionnaires. But now, thank you very much. I would like to invite on the stage, on the floor, our witnesses, by themselves.
Asking about clapping for a Polish-Ukrainian team, Lemkin Center.
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to introduce you our team. There is a team. Dima is through this console. Dima is there with my laptop. So this is the workers of Lemkin Center. Thank you very much. But right now, we give a voice to our witnesses. Katarina Suchomlynowa, she was a Mariupol rescuer, and Volodya Koskin, who is a poet who come from Irpin.
Доброго дня, шановне товариство, втомлені. Так, уявімо, як нестерпно втомлені зараз українські бійці.
Good evening, good evening, dear guests. I do realize you're all tired, and I'm just thinking about how tired are Ukrainian soldiers.
Для мене на тепер головнішим є те, що щодня гинуть десятки і сотні бійців ВСУ.
For me, right now, the most important things to realize is that thousands and hundreds of our defenders are dying.
І гинуть вони через те, що наївний Захід досі вагається давати необхідну зброю.
And the reason why they are being killed is that the naive West is still being vague about giving us the weapons we need.
Ми всі тут зібрались для того, щоб зламати цю ситуацію.
And we here are gathered for the case of changing this situation.
У Російської Федерації по-справжньому звіряче обличчя.
Russian Federation has really horrible face.
І вогонь її ненависті зараз тече по Україні, але якщо надалі так українців будуть вбивати, то цей вогонь досягне кордонів європейських країн.
And the fire of hatred is spreading on the Ukrainian land, but it can be spread even further.
А тепер я свою коротку преамбулу, і для мене дуже необхідно, закінчую і до конкретики. Я є жителем, я не зник, саме того Ірпіня, який ви бачили зараз на екрані. Там зрослися кілька міст. Ворзель, Буча, Ірпінь, Гостомель.
So I would like to go on with more certain things, and I would like to tell you that I am the citizen of the city Irpin, which you saw on the pictures, where several cities grew together. Irpin, Bucha, Gostomel.
І от на вістрі цього трикутника Буча, Гостомель, Ірпінь опинились ми з дружиною в 9-поверхівці.
And on the border of those three cities, we, with my wife, appeared in a building of 9 floors.
24 лютого розбуджені гулом, стріляниною, вибухами. О півп'ятої ранку ми приникли до вікон.
We woke up at 4:30 a.m. On 24th of February because of shellings that we heard.
І перед нами панорама Гостомельського, знаменитого на весь світ аеропорту імені Антонова.
And from our windows, we saw the airport so widely known in the entire world in Hostomel.
І ми на свої очі, як в якомусь блокбастері, панорамно бачимо всю цю вакханалію, дим, вогонь, вибухи, перемішані із сутінками.
So with our own eyes, we saw this horrible vacchanalia happening with smoke, with fire, with everything burning.
Я дружині кажу: Женя, це війна.
So I told my wife, Zhenya, this is war.
Внутрішньо ми були підготовлені тим, що довкола відбувалось на кордонах, ці величезні переміщення російських військ. Але обвішані ілюзіями ми не могли подумати, що це все настільки серйозно. У нас не вкладалось в голові те, що ми бачили на свої очі.
So internally, we were prepared because all those troops were gathering on our borders. Yet, we were covered in illusions of this not possible to be so serious.
24 лютого, десь о 12-й, я спускаюсь вниз по хліб, по продукти, бо ми вже збагнули, що у нас в перспективі. Ми набрали воду, я спускаюсь просто через дорогу. Крамниця продуктова «Самик». І перед порогом лежить 3 трупи.
On 24th, around noon, I'm going downstairs to get some products, some bread, because we were running out of them. And the store is right across the street, and right before the steps of the store, I see 3 bodies laying in front of it.
Це було моє перше враження. Враження абсолютно мирної людини, яка не брала участі в жодних війнах в гарячих точках планети. Людина, яка знала про війни тільки з книжок.
And this was an impression of me, completely peaceful person, never taking part in any military movements or operations of this war.
Я наївно іду в бік Гостомеля. Проходжу метрів 400 І в лісочку я бачу ще 7 трупів.
So I went around 400 meters towards Hostomel, and close to the forest, I saw 7 dead bodies.
Я хочу зауважити, що названі мною міста, і зокрема Ворзель, композиторська вотчина, Ірпінь, вотчина письменників і художників, Гостомель – це дивовижне місце, де вирощували коней. Там блукав табун із 70 коників і поні.
I want to bring your attention to this beautiful area in which city there was something to pay attention to. One city was home to composers, another was home for horses, and you had around 70 horses and ponies running around.
І уявіть собі, ну що здавалось би коні? Це не люди. Вони пасуться між Ірпінем і Гостомелем у заплаві.
And you would think, what about those horses? And they were just peacefully running around those fields.
Нема тих коників, немає череди кіз, овець. Я не бачив, як їх розстрілювали поштучно. Але я знаю, що кінний клуб Родео в Гостомелі, я бачив з вікон, як він палав, як орки підпалили стайні, в яких мешкали ці коні. Запитання, а чим винні коні?
And imagine there are not anymore those horses, those goats, and I didn't see myself them being shot, yet from my windows I could see the horse club burning, and I'm questioning it, how do they have to do with it?
Приірпіння – це рекреативна зона. Це зона санаторіїв і курортів, піонерських, а потім молодіжних таборів. Жодної військової частини, жодної військової інфраструктури. Але чомусь нищили саме домівки поквартально, саме висотки, саме таунхаузи.
And this is generally a recreational zone with no military objects, no military zones, and so many buildings, just civilian buildings, were bombed and were completely destroyed, like townhouses, private buildings, homes for many families.
Ми мешкали по вулиці Северинівській. Це найдовша вулиця в Ірпіні. Це десятки кілометрів. Вона тягнеться вздовж річки Ірпінь і розрізає місто на 2 частини.
And we lived on the street Severinivska, which is one of the longest streets. It goes along the river dozens of kilometers.
25 лютого вибухає величезний автомобільний міст в Романівці. Романівка – це мікрорайон Ірпеня.
On 25th of February, a big bridge exploded in Romanivka.
Затим понищено Гостомельський величезний автомобільно-транспортний міст.
Then Hostomel Bridge was exploded.
Ще минає доба, взлітає в повітря залізничний міст через річку Ірпінь, великий, багатоярусний, багатоарковий, який прорізає від столиці і на захід України. Дуже важливий міст. Він взлітає на воздух.
Another day, a huge railway bridge gets shelled, bombed, and completely destroyed, which is a super big one and super important for logistics.
І люди опиняються на острові. І, зокрема, ми з дружиною, я потім її запитував в той час, в ті дні, Женя, ти могла собі уявити, що ми опинимось на острові, з якого немає жодної дороги?
And at the end, we are left on, so to say, an island, because there is no way out. And I'm asking my wife, Zhenya, could you imagine that we would be left on an island?
Ми ухвалюємо рішення, залишаємось.
That's when decide to stay.
Після цього залишаємось. Над вулицею Северинівською, як над дороговказом, летить пара винищувачів російських на Гостомель, на Київ.
And when we decide to stay over our street, there are two airplanes flying.
Певно, не всі з вас знають або читали про коврове бомбометання, скажу російською, які здійснювали американці у В'єтнамі.
Maybe not all of you know or have heard about carpet type of shelling, which Americans have done in Vietnam.
Так от, виходячи на чергову розвідку, я бачу, що по вулиці Северинівській, приблизно починаючи дивом від нашого будинку, всі будівлі, всі висотки лягли як карткові будиночки.
So going out from my apartment again, I see on our street, both sides of the street, just buildings laying down like cards left from the house of cards.
Я змушений за браком часу своє звернення і свою промову завершувати. Єдине, що я вам ще скажу, що остаточно з нас скинуло ті ілюзії, що це не може бути, що це щось з потойбіччя прийшло.
So because of lack in time, I do need to make my speech to you a little shorter, yet I would tell you one more thing, that we were really, we had to take off all the illusions we had that it cannot happen this way.
Фіналізую тільки двома фактами. 6 березня в Ірпіні на вулиці Кошового, я добре запам'ятав навіть номер будинку 12-й, була розстріляна цивільна автоколона легковиків, на яких мешканці намагались вирватися із Ірпіня і Бучі. Це сталося 6 березня, приблизно о 8 годині ранку.
I would like to finalize with two facts. The first one being on the 6th of March, around 8 in the morning, and this was on the street Koshoboho, and I even remember the number. It was number 12. A huge column, thousands of cars were being shot of civilians who were trying to run away to evacuate themselves from the city.
І повертаючись звідти, я надибав на дивну картину. Перехрестя двох вулиць, здається, це була Полтавська. Екскаватор копає величезну яму. Маленька купка людей. Я запитую наших ірпінців, що відбувається? Копаємо братську могилу. І таких могил по Ірпіню кілька. 200-300 мертвих людей, зібраних на вулицях, мирних жителів, закопували в отакі братські могили. Звісно, коли це бачиш.
So when I was coming back from that place, I saw a huge machine just digging a huge hole for the case of so-called brotherly grave to be created, and people. I saw many of those. In such holes, people were thrown the dead bodies, 200, 300 of them.
Я гадаю, що Інститут Пілецького зібрав подібних фактів величезну кількість. І моя задача, моє завдання і завдання всіх тут присутніх полягає, певно, в тому, щоб щодня не гинули українські бійці, щоб цей вогонь ненависті не покотився далі. І оці факти жорстокості, вони вже начебто відомі. І світлини обійшли весь світ. Але чомусь деякі наївні політики досі чухаються і досі розмислюють над тим, а чи варто допомагати Україні.
I'm sure that Pilecki-Institut has done an amazing job and has collected a lot of such stories. And my assignment tonight, and all of ours, is to tell the stories and not let the world think further if they should help Ukraine with the weapons we need. And not let the naive politicians just think too much about this.
Microphone. Because of the importance of these testimonials, we can propose the meeting with our witnesses tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow early morning.
Maybe я коротко. Я не буду теж відбирати багато часу. Розумію так, насправді, що всі втомлені. Мене звати Катерина Сухомлинова, я з міста Маріуполя. Я, звісно, долучаю свій голос до голосу Володимира.
So I won't take long.
Okay.
I would just, I do understand everyone is tired, but I would like to say just a couple of words. My name is Katerina Sahomlinova. I'm from Mariupol.
Я хочу сказати, що, направда, я тільки на цих вихідних повернулася з України, яка і на сьогодні теж страждає і на окупованих територіях, і на територіях, яка контролюється Україною.
Just this weekend, I came back from Ukraine and to tell about country suffering on the occupied territories and not only.
Продовжують руйнувати цивільну інфраструктуру. Ви знаєте, що наші люди без тепла, без нормального зв'язку. Наші діти страждають, бо не можуть навчатися в школах.
So they continue to destroy our civil infrastructure, and people don't have heating, they don't have connection, and our children are suffering not being able to study.
І людству ще потрібно буде осягнути масштаби трагедії, яка сьогодні в Україні. Масштаби злочинів Російської Федерації, масштаби геноциду, які Росія чинить над Україною.
And I need to say that the humanity still has to realize the scale of the atrocities that Russian Federation does on the territory of Ukraine.
Я скажу такий момент. Ви всі були свідками також з інтернету, з засобів масової інформації про влучання, ракетне влучання в місті Дніпрі в житловий будинок, де було знищено всього 2 під'їзди. І це більше 40 людей загиблими, це 80 людей поранених, це велика кількість людей з психологічними травмами.
And I guess that most of you, if not all of you, saw the missile attack on Dnipro, where 2 parts of the building were completely destroyed. More than 40 people died and around 80 were injured.
Але цих жертв стільки саме тому, що вони ще, люди в Дніпрі могли отримати якусь допомогу. Ті 80 поранених, їх діставали з завалів. А на прикладі міста Маріуполя, щоб ви розуміли, місто зруйноване вщент, фактично весь житловий фонд винищений. Це більше 600 зруйнованих будинків.
And those victims in Dnipro is still was still possible because there is some infrastructure there. In the case of Mariupol, more than 600 buildings were destroyed, and there was no possibility to help people.
Там ніхто не міг рятувати тих людей, і буквально будинки стогнали тижнями, тому що там люди, які не могли звільнитися з западні, тобто вони були привалені плитами, не могли вийти самі.
There was no possibility to save those people, so there were entire buildings screaming and moaning because nobody could come for help for people who were just under the parts of the buildings being bombed.
Я дякую Інституту імені Пілецького, центру Лемкіна за те, що робиться величезний пласт роботи для того, щоб зберегти історичну справедливість.
I want to thank Pilecki-Institut and Lemkin Center for doing huge work for historical accountability to take part.
Я, як не просто пересічна людина, а як добровільний рятувальник, мала можливість переміщатись по місту. І вже на середину березня я хочу сказати, що мова йде, тоді йшла про більш ніж 20 тисяч загиблими тільки цивільного населення.
And me, not as regular civilian, but voluntarily lifesaver, I with my own eyes saw a lot of things that were happening in March in Mariupol, and I could say at that point already that there are more than 20,000 people who died.
Величезна кількість людей попросту лежали на дорогах, на вулицях, в будинках. Їх ніхто не міг просто захоронити через постійні бомбардування.
A lot of people were just laying on the streets, laying in their own apartments, not being able to be saved or buried because shellings would not stop.
Це, звісно, моя суб'єктивна, об'єктивна оцінка, що мова буде йти по завершенню війни, мабуть, про 100 тисяч безвісти зниклих людей лише в одному Маріуполі.
And this is my subjective, objective point of view that we can talk about 100,000 people who disappeared and died in Mariupol only.
Я кажу вам це як рятувальник, який до повномасштабної інвазії Російської Федерації вже зіштовхувалась, і я вважала себе підготовленою людиною, я бачила кров. Але хочу запевнити кожного з вас, що людського досвіду з Першої і Другої світової війни недостатньо для того, щоб зрозуміти, що є насправді війна в повному її вираженні.
And those are the things that I'm telling you as a voluntarily lifesaver. So I thought that I was ready to see so much death and so much blood, but I think that people's experience, humanity's experience from second and from the first also world wars is not enough to realize what is going on right now.
Готова розповідати потім кожному з вас, відповідати на ваші питання. Пам'ятайте, що мова йде про те, що людей попросту полишають можливості, скажімо, забезпечити базові потреби життєві. І ці зміни, світ змінився, вони можуть прийти також і сюди. Ми маємо всі докласти зусиль для того, щоб це зупинити.
And you're welcome to ask questions after, and I will tell you all that you are interested in. But it's important to understand that humanity has not seen such things before, and people cannot even cover their basic needs. And we are all here right now to change this.
Я хочу також запевнити вас, що Україна переможе.
And I want to let you know that Ukraine will win.
Але тут зібрались такі люди, які можуть змінювати світ, і для них відкриті двері, які не відкриті для кожного пересічного громадянина.
And here are such people who can change things and for whom a lot of doors are opened which are not open for any random person.
Тому що після нашої перемоги, я дуже сподіваюся, що вона буде спільною перемогою. Кожен з вас поставить собі запитання, чи зробив я все можливе, щоб ціна для України, ціна цієї війни була меншою.
And after Ukraine wins, and it will be the victory that we achieved all together, many of you will ask yourself a question. Did I do everything I could to make the price for Ukraine lower?
Багато страшних речей, яких я вам сьогодні тут не розповідаю. Страшно робити вибір, коли в тебе 3, 5, 10 постраждалих, а ти можеш врятувати тільки одного, в кого найбільше шансів.
And a lot of horrible things are things that I am not telling you tonight, because sometimes you have people who are injured and you have 5, 10 of them, and you do realize that you can only save one because that's the only person who really has a chance to be saved.
Я б не хотіла, щоб ви колись відчували те, що відчувала я, коли забирала дівчинку-підлітка від пораненої мами, яка ще була жива.
And I really would not like you to ever feel what I felt when I was taking away a teenage girl from her mother who was not to be saved.
І я б ніколи не хотіла, щоб ви відчували, знаєте, безпорадність, тому що ваша близька людина поранена, але у вас немає зв'язку і ви не можете подзвонити в швидку, щоб вони приїхали до вас.
And I don't want you to ever feel what I felt when you have a loved one which you can't get connected to, and there is no connection and no way to ask if they are safe.
І пам'ятайте, що цей момент, от зміна цієї дійсності може наступити в будь-який день. Готуйтесь до цього. Не будьте такими, як Маріуполь, не робіть нашої помилки. Щоб не було війни, до неї треба готуватися. Будьте сильними самі і допоможіть бути сильною Україні. І в нас є шанс зупинити це в Україні.
And this moment can happen any time that war comes and you are not ready to it. Don't make our mistakes in order to not experience the war. You need to prepare for it. And there is a way to actually stop this war from spreading further in Ukraine.
На жаль, ви бачите, дипломатичні шляхи, всі спроби, вони вичерпані. Путін – це та людина, з якою ми не можемо домовитись. Тому ми всі разом маємо бути сильними, маємо озброїтись самі, маємо дати зброї Україні. Ми потребуємо танків німецьких, ми потребуємо літаків, ми потребуємо вашої підтримки. І якщо ми станемо всі пліч-опліч, будемо заходити в кожні двері і прохати сьогодні за Україну, яка бореться за кожного з нас, повірте.
And sadly, there are no diplomatic ways in this very situation because Putin is definitely not the one to negotiate with. And we do need tanks, we do need jets, we need a lot of things. And if we will stand shoulder to shoulder together and ask at every door how can we be helped in this situation, we can do this together.
Дуже знаково, що сьогодні ця дуже важлива конференція проходить саме в Берліні. Ви знаєте, що інститут імені Пілецького є в Варшаві, так? І дуже знаково, що це саме в цій країні. Тому що кожен з вас знає, що це такий собі фінансовий центр Євросоюзу.
This is very symbolic that this is happening tonight in this place. As many of you probably know, Pilecki-Institut also exists in Warsaw, and tonight we are all here in Berlin, which is also a financial center.
І дуже вагомим слово є саме Німеччини. Вона теж може це зупинити. Цей геноцид, це вбивство, направда, яке ми з вами навіть не можемо уявити своїм здоровим глуздом.
And there is a lot that can be done from Germany, and the board of Germany is very heavy in this debate. And Germany can also help to stop this genocide and this killing.
Я вам дуже дякую всім. Дякую за те, що ви витримали такий спіч. Дякую всім організаторам. Дякую керівнику, директору центру Лемкіна, пану Якубу. Дякую взагалі, що нас приймають тут, в Берліні. І я зичу нам всім миру, але тільки через перемогу. Тому що там ми можемо зупинити лише перемогою.
And I want to thank you for hearing these speeches. I want to thank the organizers of this conference. I want to thank you all. And I really want to wish all of us peace, but through the victory, because it's the only way.